2021. We're excited to have you all here today, and glad to see the great turnout for today. We've got a special guest speaker today, so Dr. Brundle's going to get to that in a minute, but I want him to see this before we start. All those that are veterans, please raise your hands right now. Okay, so I am no Mark Browning, so I don't have all the comments he'll have, but I do want to go over some things we've got coming up here before we get started. April 16th is our next Lunch and Learn. We have an added one this month because we have special guests, and we added a lunch program for that, so you would all get the opportunity to hear his message. So next week, April 16th, we have our third lunch, Lunch, Learn, and Share here, and it's the topic is Albion Fellows Bacon, very prestigious woman in Evansville history. On April 18th, we have our 250th anniversary of the United States of America celebration here. And we are going to be having the ribbon cutting for our Revolutionary War exhibit. We're going to have reenactors here in uniform from different war periods throughout the history of the United States. We're going to have a number of different activities going on. There's going to be a long rifle demonstration during the day, so we hope to see a lot of you back out here for our 250th celebration on April 18th, and we are extending the hours of the museum that day. We will be open that day from 10 until 4. And then on April 25th, we have our second bus tour of the year. And I think as of yesterday, there were still seats available on that. You register for those on our website if you're interested in taking the historic World War II tour of the city of Evansville. So at this point, I'm going to introduce Tom Wiggers, and Tom is going to lead us in prayer and in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Those of you who are able, please stand. Lord God, Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this beautiful day. We give you thanks for our great land and the leaders. We give you thanks for the men and women who stood up and for us in uniform. We thank you for the people, men and women, who stood up behind them to support them. We thank you especially for those men and women who gave their lives for our safety and our freedom. All these things we are grateful for. And we are grateful for the meal you provided for us today. We are grateful that we have a very special guest here, and bless him. Your presence be with us at all times, and all things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Remain standing and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you stay up. We're going to bring up Larry Head to sing our national anthem.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me get away from the speaker. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the
Okay, I forgot to mention one thing. I forgot to mention that we certainly want to thank the Brownstein Foundation for providing the support for these lunch programs. They make this possible. Now I'm going to introduce Dr. Ed Brundick. He is a United States Air Force veteran and an orthopedic surgeon, and he is going to be our moderator for today's program.
Hello, everyone. Colonel Ballard, I hope you appreciate my resiliency by showing up this morning, even though you fired me last night. I've had the pleasure of accompanying Colonel Ballard about Evansville since Monday. In addition to the War Museum, we went to high schools, the West Side Net Club, and USI. I've learned the Colonel is not just a hero, he is a good man, through and through. But you know what is one of the best parts of accompanying a Medal of Honor recipient about town? You get to eat free a lot. Colonel Ballard and Dan, it's been great, thanks. No greater love hath man than this, that he lay down his life for a friend. That passage is in the Gospel according to John. Our guest today did exactly that. He laid down his life for a friend. Colonel Don Ballard is a distinguished American hero and Medal of Honor recipient whose life embodies courage, selflessness, and lifelong service to his country. Born in Kansas City, Missouri in 1945, Colonel Ballard served as a Navy hospital corpsman attached to a Marine unit during the Vietnam War. In 1968, he earned the nation's highest military decoration for valor after throwing himself onto a grenade to shield his fellow Marines from certain death, an act of extraordinary bravery that miraculously he survived. I repeat, he threw himself on a grenade, shielding his fellow Marines who were his patients. I'm ecstatic that an occasion never arose when I might have been expected to throw myself on a grenade for my patients. That is a level of patient care I'm totally unfamiliar with. After his time in the Navy, Colonel Ballard continued his military career in Kansas. National Guard, achieving the rank of colonel. Beyond his service in uniform, he has remained a powerful advocate for veterans and military families, dedicating his life to public service and community leadership. Colonel Ballard's story stands as a testament to honor, sacrifice, and the enduring spirit for those who serve. Medal of Honor recipients are rare. Stats show the odds of being struck by lightning during any year is 1 in 700,000. 1 in 700,000 you may get struck by lightning. The odds of meeting a Medal of Honor recipient in a year is over 1 in 5 million. That means you're 49 times more likely to be struck by lightning this year than running into a Medal of Honor recipient Colonel Donald Ballard in the deli at Snooks. This underscores the difficulty and rarity of one receiving the most prestigious award and highlights how fortunate we are to have Colonel Don Ballard with us. This is our 1 in 5 million day. I give you Medal of Honor recipient, good guy, Colonel Don Ballard.
Good.
Can you hear me now? I want to thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure for me to be around a bunch of old vets that get it. You know, we fought so this country could be free. We fought so people could have an opinion, whether we agree with it or not. And we live. So I'm grateful. I'd like to take the first minute of my time to remember those that did not come back. So can we have a moment of silence for our buddies that did not come home? Thank you. I'm hoping that today you benefit from me being here. I don't want anything from you. I don't need anything from you. I have all the accolades I can ever have. I've met the presidents, every president since Nixon. Some I enjoyed, some I didn't. I even shook some of their hands knowing that they were against America. I'm not talking about Democrats completely. Yeah, I see. It's a joke. Please take my comments with jokes. I love some Democrats. This is not a political statement. I'm trying to be funny because that's my disability. I have a disability, and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a new Vietnam era diagnosis. We used to have shell shock and we had battle fatigue, and PTSD grew up out of something. That was labeled so they could say they treated it. That's what it's all about. But I don't have PTSD as much as I have PTSH. H stands for humor. I treat my problems and my family and my friends and the public I speak to with humor. Why? Because it's my benefit. If you can laugh at some of my jokes, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, then enjoy them. That's all I'm here for. I'm truly here to give you, share some experiences with you that you may or may not have had, share some thoughts that you might not have ever come up on your own. I am not politically motivated. I've never run for office. Is there any politicians in the crowd? Yeah, I wouldn't raise my hand either. See, that went either way, young lady. That went either way. I'm invited to a lot of places once. Are you having fun? That's what my purpose is, to share a little life with you. If I make you laugh, then support my nonprofit that I'll tell you about later. But I'm really here because I want to share what you want to know. I know everything, so I want to know what you want to know, and I'll answer questions. I'll give you a little overview of my life in the military side, and then I'll have a paid announcement by my nonprofit that's going to try to take your money away from you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. For the Marines, that's questions and answers. Are there any Marines in here? If I tell a joke, I'll tell it slow and twice.
You stand closer to the mic, please.
You speak English?
Yes, I do.
Well, how about speaking it up so I can hear you?
Yeah,
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can't.
How about this? Can you hear me now? This don't taste very good.
Thank you.
Okay. How about that? Thank you. That was not a Marine because he wouldn't have done that. Must have been Army, right? Navy?
Air Force.
Oh, well, Air Force, I'll talk about that. We're having fun now. I started my naval career. I said naval. I started in the Navy in 1965, right out of college. I only got 2 years under my belt before I ran out of money. So I'm often asked, did you go fight? Did you sign up or get drafted? Neither. I went to get tuition assistance. I didn't know there was a war in 1965. Although there was, it wasn't a big deal, or at least not back home. So I joined because I wanted the military GI Bill, something that would pay my tuition. I joined the Navy because I was working in a dental laboratory. I was a pre-med major in dentistry. I wanted to be an orthodontist. So I went to my naval recruiters. Are there any Navy recruiters in there? Yeah, again, I wouldn't raise my hand. They lie. Liars, liars, doc, they lied. So I joined the Navy thinking I was going to be a dentist because I went down at the exact day that they just opened a new program wanting dentists. That was bullshit. Anyway, I got to boot camp thinking I was going to be a dental officer, and I turned out to be an E1 anchor clanker. I had no idea what I was going to walk into. Again, all of us have been there. Everybody in this room that raised their hand earlier went through some kind of boot camp. And we all have that baseline of respect and that baseline of understanding. That's why we have a family. That's why we love each other. No matter what service you were in, we love you. Can you agree with that? All right. That's a squid. That's a Navy guy that most of the time it referred to. The question was, what's an anchor clanker? That used to be a bosun's mate. Any bosun's mates in here? That's good, because when you failed out of everything else, they put you on a ship as a bosun's mate to chip paint and to move the anchors. You know, you were the guy that released the anchor. Anchor clanker was a name for the guys that had I don't want to say low IQ. They just didn't pass any tests. You know, they were. What can I say? I'm glad there's no one in here because I don't want that to be derogatory. Some people like deck apes. And that's another name for, you know, the guys that work on the ship was deck apes. That's their mentality. When you fall out of school and you still got a 4-year obligation, the Navy finds a job for you, chipping paint on a ship. If you can hold your breath long enough to go underwater, you got another job. Yes. So that's how I joined. I joined the Navy to think I was going to be in the dental corps, only to find out that now in 1966, Vietnam was a thing. They needed hospital corpsmen. Hospital corpsmen. Any other corpsmen in here? Oh, you've got 2 up front, 3, hey, 4. Oh, thank you. A corpsman saved my life. Thank you, docs. Thank you. I was wounded 8 times. I treated myself the best I could. Can anybody do CPR on yourself? No. The docs and the corpsmen were the most important people in any organization, because if you got injured, the corpsman is all you got. We had no doctors. We had no medical training facility. We had nothing except the instruments and tools we carried in our backpack. And our training that we got, you know, that we could provide medical training. I enjoyed trauma. I spent my entire years in the service, 35 of them, working OR and ER. I worked orthopedic surgeon, surgical assistant back in the day. Then it became a PA program, physician assistant, because I served on 3 ships, no doctor, 2.5 years in the Marine Corps, no doctor, 2 hospitals, and they had doctors, but they never came down to the ward where I worked. So after surgery, we'd do OR, we'd do, in the operating, we had the OR for orthopedic surgery in the morning, and then we'd visit the wards that afternoon on post-op care. So I went to work one day thinking I was going to work on a surgical team when the whiteboard up there next to my name said FMF, Fleet Marine Force. Of course, I thought it meant something else, which there's too many ladies in here to describe it. But so Chief says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "It's my job." "No, you're not. You're in the freaking Marines." I got drafted in the Marines. Only corpsmen and selected Navy guys understand that the needs of the service are greater than the needs of the individual. So I got drafted in the damn Marine Corps. So that's how I became a Marine Corpsman, FMF Marine Corpsman. They drilled holes in my head so I could take out part of the brain so I could talk to them. No greater love than the Marines and their corpsmen. They allow me to pick on them. They allow that, you know, because I'll tear up their shot card otherwise. We love each other. And I exemplify that because I am the corpsman is the only guy that can pick on a Marine and get away with it. So we take advantage of that all the time. So I went to the Marines. We went to Vietnam. I was given this. I started to say I earned this, but I really bought it at Walmart. The Marines love me. This represents one word: love. I love the Marines. They love me. Is that not right, Marines? You love your corpsmen, right? So at least one of them did. Thank you. The year went by fairly quickly. I got wounded 8 times. You frickin' Marines were supposed to protect me. I killed 6 men, 6 Vietnamese soldiers, and 3 of them was with my knife, my K-bar. We had a kind of close encounter. Luckily, I had been a weightlifter, worked all through college, all through high school, weightlifting. I could kick that little skinny ass called a Vietnamese soldier. And I did. I mean, when it comes down to fighting, has anybody in here taken another man's life with a knife? I would think not. I have never been the same since. So if you want to frick with me, come on up here. I have mental challenges. That's where the humor comes in, is me dealing with the tragedies that I experienced. Because I knew that after the fight was all over, it bothered me for years knowing that this guy, this Vietnamese soldier, was ordered to be there and he wanted to go home to his family as much as I did. I had a wife and 2 kids in Kansas City waiting for me to come back home, so I wanted to get home as much as anybody else. I think the old attitude about, excuse my French here, but it's a Marine Corps term, shit happens, right? I never used that term. I never had the need to until I was exposed to it. And then shit happens. I got water over there, 2 things. That's all right, doctor, I don't need it. High price spokesman, I tell you. Parasites. Well, thanks for checking it out for me. Keep hydrated, please. Keep hydrated. Now, I'll back up a step and tell you that I've been up here a week and I've enjoyed every day. They worked my ass off, but I've talked to your kids, I've talked to your community, I've been here twice. I love this part of the country. I love the people here. Thank you very much for being patriotic. But that's my job when I go to other cities, is to teach and expose, because some people you can't teach, but to expose the purpose of our country, our freedom, and who paid the price for our ability not to have to speak Japanese or German or, you know, I talk about subjects that the kids don't learn in school or church or home. That's why I don't get invited back. Okay, well, he took the hint. Look at that guy. Here, open that for me there, Colonel. So my whole point is, you have a great community, and I'm very respectful and very pleasured to be here to speak to you about any subject that you want to know. As it was demonstrated, I hope we don't get struck with lightning now to prove a point. The Vietnam issue, I'm often asked what I did to earn the medal. Does anyone want to know that? Anybody want to know that? Oh, really? Okay. My job as a corpsman, all the other corpsmen that served with the Marines, our job was simple: save the life of a wounded Marine. They get wounded, and they call her, the Marine Corps combat cry is "corpsman up." Corpsman up. We've got a wounded guy over here. Now, think about that. The enemy knows where he is. He just got shot. You want me to go up there and get shot the second time? I mean, I'm just another walking target. Yeah, that's what they want. Damn Marines. But that's what our job was. Go out, treat the Marines where they were wounded. Hence why I got shot so many times. That was my job. Save their life, get them back to their loved ones. That's the only job we had. It was simple, very difficult, very challenging, very rewarding job. What motivated me after getting wounded several times is they needed the corpsmen. They cannot function out there without medical support. They're in combat. They want that support, even if they don't need it. They want it to be there in case they do need it. Does that make sense? So we were held on a pedestal my entire career. I was Doc. I even got it on my shirt in case I forget. Docs. That was a term of endearment. That's a term of love. As I said, this represents love. I love them and they love me. I took them 2 years to decide whether I was going to get the medal or not. I'd already got out of the Navy and went in the Army. When I got home, they were still deciding whether I was going to get this or not. One of the Marines, there would have been a lot more of these issued if the Marines hadn't broke their Crayolas. I was one of the first, and let me back up and say I'll try to keep this as honest as I can. At the time that I got the medal, I was informed that I was one of the few recipients not to get a Purple Heart during the action. Most of them get killed, and the award is given to the parents. At least you should get wounded, they think. I did not get wounded the day that I earned the medal. It took them 2 years to decide whether I was going to get the medal or not. So we're moving out. I had gone out, got a patient. I carried him back in over my shoulder, kind of a fireman carry. Any firemen in here? Okay. Anyway, I carried him over my shoulder, and I took him off my shoulder and laid him on the ground. I laid him on top of a hand grenade. The grenade went off, blew both of his legs off, blew both of us up in the air. His carcass and body fell across mine. I was able to get him off of me, and I started treating him for obviously hemorrhage control, put tourniquets on, and treating him for shock. I had blood volume expanders, so I started an IV. Well, I was starting the IV on my knees now I'm in a bomb crater, okay? So I'm out of sight, I hope. I mean, that's what I was thinking. And I forgot about that damn grenade. I don't know where it came from. Well, I'm trying to start this IV, and something hits me in the helmet and falls by my leg. It's another grenade. Here I got a damn Chinese communist grenade, they call them Chi-Toms, right here next to my leg. I only had two choices. I could act like a Marine and stick it in my pocket for a souvenir. You're not laughing now, there, Marine. Or I could throw it away, I thought. Or I could die. That was really a third choice that they didn't consider. I could die. We pick on Marines because we love them. I just want to make sure that you understand why I'm picking on Marines. Other people, it gets a laugh because the Marines are the toughest son of a bitches in here. They don't have to prove themselves. They're taught one thing, and that's to kill your ass. Kill the enemy, that's what they're taught. That's secondary is whatever other skill sets the military need. Their first job in boot camp is to teach them how to kill. That's it. They don't up and away, they don't have caissons rolling down the highway. We'll defend our country against all enemies. That's the Marine. So I jokingly pick on them because no one else can. So this grenade, I had a false sense of something was wrong. I was talking to God the whole time, and so I grabbed that hand grenade and I threw it out of the bomb crater, and it went off. So here again, I really wasn't worried about where it was coming from. That was not my job. It should have been the dumbass Marines with me. So their job was to protect me. And I did. I had 6 men issued to me as litter bearers and bodyguards, if you will. But they were there as my support. And they were, now in Vietnam, they had been fighting for 100 years with the French. And so they dug all these tunnels. They would cover the exit of the tunnel with bamboo with plants growing on it. So they could raise up that bamboo trap door, shoot at you, and throw a grenade and drop that bamboo hatch back down, and you'd be standing there with your thumb up your ass trying to figure out where the shot came from. They had been fighting jungle warfare before I could spell it. So that's what we never, in my mind's eye, we didn't have a clue where the grenades were coming from. But how far can you throw a grenade? I can't throw it back there to where those guys are standing. So the enemy soldier was pretty damn close to us to get a grenade in on us. This was my second grenade that I come in contact with. So I'm working, I went back to putting the IV in, and the second patient had his face blown off. You could look down at his throat, see his tongue, see his, adenoids. You could see every part of his body in the mouth area. And so I'm treating him, trying to keep him alive, when another grenade is thrown in on top of us. The Marine that I had 6 Marines laying there as patients. And one of the Marines hollered, "Doc, Doc," and I turned to see what he wanted, and he said, "Grenade." And so when he said grenade, I started looking around, and damn, there was a grenade laying there. Now this is my 3rd grenade for that day. It wasn't really a happy day, but it was just a little bit out of my reach because I was on my knees. I jumped up as best I could. I lunged for it. I could barely grab it. I pulled it up under my chest, not thinking what was going to happen. Have you ever been there? Just, oh shit, you got to do something, I pulled it up under my chest. I had an epiphany. God told me, boy, you're not too damn smart. Get rid of that thing. I rolled up on my patient, and I flung it out of the bomb crater, and it went off again. It went off. Nobody was injured. So the Marines that roped me up saw that I hollered grenade and I jumped on it. They buried their head, knowing it was going to blow up, going to kill me. But they didn't see me throw it away. So my official citation says, I jumped on the grenade, I failed to go off, and I got up, just continued to treat the Marines. That was what my official, you can get on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Wikipedia, it all says the truth was it failed to go off. Now, I ask any other branch besides the Marines, because I know they wrote it up, right? Would you leave a grenade laying there not knowing when it was going to go off? No. So the Marines didn't think through it 100% when they wrote me up. But the major was against corpsmen getting awards. I learned this at my first reunion. And this major said, I don't want to know what you think happened, I only want to know what you saw. So that's another reason it took them 2 years to decide, because all my witnesses, well, 6 of them are still alive, others have died. And that's the challenge I want everybody here to understand. We earn the award sometimes when it's unwitnessed, or all the witnesses died, you know? So there's a lot of men in this room right now that have earned awards that they did not get because they weren't wrote up properly, you know? And each rank, you know, and I know the process, let me explain that. At any level of your chain of command can chop that forward motion. In other words, if I didn't get along with my sergeant, he could have said, oh, hell no. The lieutenant, if the lieutenant didn't like me or didn't think, maybe he was prejudiced or maybe he didn't think I was worthy of the award, he could have said no, you know? So it takes all those battalion commander, division, all the way up to the president had to say yes, or I wouldn't be wearing it. So do you see the scope? That's why the rarity of the medal. There's only, out of 48 million veterans, servicemen that's worn the uniform, there's only been 3,505 of these issued. Today there's 65 of us alive, and I'm freaking one of them. That was taken from a movie back with Jack Nicholson about being an astronaut. Remember that movie? I don't know, he said something else, but I'm freaking one of them, you know? Trying to get a laugh, that's all I'm doing. Thank you for laughing. Again, I treat myself, this takes me back to Vietnam where I don't want to go. You know, we walked out, and I had to go on. I didn't know I was getting put in for no damn award. I was so relieved because I'd done shit my pants. That's why I didn't get up so quick, you know. We go on, and so that later that day, we're evacuating those 6 patients, and that's what the process was about. Because that was all during, I was treating the patients, trying to evacuate some of them when the guy threw the hand grenade in on top of me. My citation will read, I was treating a patient, we tried to medevac him out with litter bearers, and somebody threw a grenade in. All that's true, but not in sequence, you know, as it's written. Because the Crayola is melted, I think, I don't know. It's all true, but not so accurate. I went, later that same day, we set up, the Marines go out by themselves, they're the lost souls, you know, they don't follow any path, they don't take anybody else's guidance, they're just screwed up in a way that you gotta love them. I joined them, I loved being with them, I was scared, I was afraid the whole damn time I was there. I didn't want to die. I had a wife and 2 kids, but I wasn't going to leave the Marines that needed me. I was wounded, like I said, 8 times. Sometimes I had to go back to get my wounds treated, but I refused to be there very long. As soon as I could get back to my unit, that's what I did. And the Marines loved that. I mean, I could have stayed back and not participated. I could have skated a lot longer. I didn't want that. I wanted to be there with my love, my Marines, and I never knew what love was until you face danger. But there's all kinds of love, right? I mean, I never really knew what love was. I had a wife, 2 kids, but I didn't love them near as much as the guys that were saving my life. Different kind of love, but a lot more intense. That love I never experienced before. I have never experienced it since. I love those men that saved my life, especially the corpsmen that did save my life. You know, control the hemorrhage, treat for shock. You know, the ABCs. So that's kind of my story. I got it again. All right, 2 years later, I get out of the Navy not knowing I'm going to get any accolade, you know. I joined the Army. I said, shit, if I can put up with the Marines, I can put up with the Army. So I joined the Army. And they promised me OCS. I qualified because I had 2 years of college, also the fact that I passed the test, and I could read and write, you know. So the Army said, oh yeah, you're a candidate. I came home, I was home on leave. I am funny, thank you. I came home on leave waiting for orders to go to Fort Benning. This is another, I'm kind of culminating all the questions that I get over the years. So how did I learn I was going to get the medal? I was loading trucks in the East Bottoms, earning money to go to college. And I worked at the dental laboratory, you know, preparing to be a dentist, right? So my father came by the warehouse where I was working and said, your mother wants to invite you over for dinner Sunday afternoon. This was Friday, and I said, oh, okay, great. So, and she never does that. So I knew something was up. So I go take my 2 kids, they're rugrats. I take my wife, 2 kids, we go over to eat, and she hands me a piece of paper that says, call this guy, because he's calling here every day this week, you know. And she had a phone hanging on the wall with a long tail. You remember those? She could walk all the way around the house with that damn phone, because we had no cell phones. I didn't even own a phone. That's why they were calling my mother. She says, call this guy. I want him to stop calling. Yes, ma'am. So Monday I called this guy, and it turned out to be a retention NCO. You know who those guys were? The guy said, I see you just got out of the Navy. I want to recruit you back. And I said, no freaking way. I said, no, I'm not interested. He says, if you don't want to be a corpsman anymore, we got aviation, we got submarines. I said, listen, buddy, I'm already out of the Navy, so I can tell him to go get screwed, right? No matter what his rank was. But I said, no, listen, I am not interested. Just quit calling here. My mother says, quit calling here. And so a whole week goes by, and Friday, my dad comes over and says, your mom wants you over for dinner again. Okay. What the hell happened now? You know? I go over, and she says, in between the pot roast and the meatloaf, I thought I asked you to call the Navy and tell them to quit calling here. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I did that. She says, well, they've been calling here every day this week trying to get a hold of you, and I'm getting tired of it, so you tell them to take my phone number out of there wasn't a database back then, you know, scratch it off the Rolodex, take it out of the Rolodex, thank you. So Monday, I call, I'm on lunch hour, I'm still loading trucks, because I couldn't call from the college, so I called from work. And I said, who's trying to get a hold of Don Ballard? Oh, we don't know who you are. And I said, well, I know who I'm at. Find somebody else knows who I am. And so, you know how the Navy is. You can't make your point unless you make your point. So he says, well, hang on a minute. So the next phone voice I hear on the phone is a captain in the Navy, which is a full bird colonel in every other branch. This captain comes on and says, where are you right this minute? I'm Captain Blow Blow, you know, whoever he is. And I said, well, Captain Blow Blow, I'm over here loading trucks in the East Bottoms. What's the address? And I said, well, okay. And I'm thinking, what's this all about? And he says, the Admiral wants to talk to you. I've never talked to an admiral in my life. Well, I'm out of the Navy. What do I care? Leave me the hell alone, you know. He says, no, we're sending a car to get you. I never went in a military car before, you know. So I'm thinking, what did I do that was so wrong that I got to talk to the top dog, the admiral? The only thing I could come up with is I stole my .45. And I thought, how the hell do I get it back? You know, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to the brig or something. I sweated bullets. I could not figure out what I knew what it was now. I was going to jail. So I said, somebody hid it in my luggage. I'm sweating bullets. So these two Navy officers, one's a lieutenant commander and a commander, you know, 6 and 5 and 05 and 06. 04 and 05. They came and put me in the back of the car, and I'm still sweating bullets. We go over to see the admirals at the AV station, where I swore in 5 years earlier. And he says, so they walk me in, they report to the admiral, and I'm standing there in work clothes. I don't do shit, you know. I feel bad. I feel like I ought to do something because I'm going to jail. But I stand there, and so the captain that was on the phone got up and came over to me, got right in my face, and you don't like that, but he did outright me, and I remember boot camp, how that all went, boot camp. So I took it. I said, what else could I do? Well, he's standing there, he says, do you realize we've been trying to get a hold of you for 3 weeks? I said, I didn't know it was 3 weeks, but I told the guy I wasn't interested. His jaw dropped and he says, I cannot go and tell President Nixon that you're not interested in getting the Medal of Honor. So now, apparently my jaw dropped and he says, you didn't know you were in for the Medal of Honor? And I said, I didn't know. No, I did not know that. And he says, well, we've got to get you ready. I've got 3 days to get you in front of the president or it's my ass. I understood that language. So I immediately went home and told my parents that we would round up the troops, my mother, father, brother, and my wife and 2 kids all got on a plane and we went to Washington. And so the admiral that's up there, they're full of admirals up there in Washington. You know, the littlest guy would have been well over my rank, the coffee guy. And he says, I hope you got a great looking uniform. And I said, yes, sir, because I'm a 2nd lieutenant in the Army. So he shits his pants, you know. The admiral says, that boy's not going to get a Navy medal and an Army uniform on my watch. Now my official photograph, a couple hours later, I'm standing in front of the president in a pair of white Navy uniform. It's not mine. Some guy's walking around out there naked. I still have the uniform, by the way. If it can happen, it happened to Ballard. You know, that was my luck. So Admiral Moore, standing here, General Westmoreland, General Walt, Commandant of the Marine Corps, and General Rogers of the Air Force, all Chief of Staff. And Admiral Moore says, well, this is really going to enhance your naval career. I looked at him and said, no, sir, it ain't going to do a damn thing for me. What? I said, I'm wearing that man's uniform. That was Westmoreland. And Westmoreland says, you're in the Army now? What can I say? I said, I know that song, yes, sir. Of course, General Walt says, Doc, why didn't you throw a Marine on that hand grenade? You know, they're expendable. I said they were all bigger than I was. And I'd been working on them for months, and I didn't, you know, I looked around, and the biggest hole I could crawl in, my sea ration can already filled it. I didn't know what to say. Here, I'm an E5. All of you know what an E5 is. Talking to a goddamn, I'm talking to 4-star generals, all these 4-star generals, and I'd already been in front of the dog, you know, the President of the United States, so these 4 stars didn't mean anything to me anymore. Apparently, I acted like it. That was my day in the White House. President Nixon put this around my neck. I am proud of you, he said. And America is proud of all your accomplishments, what you've done for America. I was just grateful they didn't know anything about the 45. That's my story, and I came home. General Westmoreland offered me a job right there in the Pentagon, in the White House for his Pentagon office. I don't like being a puppet, and I damn sure didn't want a dog and pony show, so I said, I'll consider it. Now here, you're talking to E5 talking to a 4-star, saying, I don't know, I think I'll consider it. You know? Oh boy, I must have had my head up my ass, because I tell you, it was an excitement. So I went back, and Westmoreland, he said, well, I'll have my aides contact you. So this general, brigadier general, and colonel came by my office, my hotel room, and where are you in the process? When do you report to Fort Benning? I said, I don't know, I haven't gotten my orders yet. He says, well, General Westmoreland wants to give you a battlefield commission. I am of record, I'm the last battlefield commission given in Vietnam by Westmoreland. So that's another accolade that I throw in the trash can. But it's something to talk about if you like Westmoreland, you know what I mean? So that was not to my advantage, because I went to my first Army unit not knowing shit. I could talk Navy, I could talk Marine, but I didn't know anything about the Army, but now I'm a dumbass second lieutenant. And I truly was. And that's what saved my career, is I walked into the enlisted guys that I know who operates the unit, and I said, I'm just a dumbass second lieutenant. I'm here to learn. This is your outfit. Take care of me and I'll take care of you. And I lived that entire 35 years of taking care of the troops. I never gave a lawful order. I didn't feel comfortable enough, even though they teach you different, like Command General Staff College, War College. I was trained up through Army standards to become a Major General. I was a major screw-up, so I guess Major General would work. But I had the desire to be there for the troops, and my commissioning was to share with the NCOs the mission, the tasks, and let them figure out how to get it done. That's how taking care of the troops benefited me. I made the troops feel good, I took care of them, and I made my boss look good. That's how I got promoted above other people. So I'm going to offer this up for, well, maybe I'll take you to the next step. So now I'm retarded. You know, I wanted to go on active duty. I had a wife, 2 kids. They had lived with me for 8 years and said, we're not going to continue this lifestyle of being separated. Second thing is, I literally came home with PTSD, that they call it now. I didn't play well with others. Remember the elementary school days when on the playground, I didn't play well on my report card either, you know. So she was smart enough to divorce my ass. She took the kids and said, you know, we can't live in fear. Because when you hand fight and kill somebody with a knife, you don't sleep well at night. And when I was sleeping with her, I didn't try to kill her, but I scared her. You know, that I was so brutal. I was reliving the fight. And when you do it 3 times, I had a lot of experiences to relive, and I was the wrong person. I even got in a separate bedroom, you know. But my screaming and hollering and scared her, and she said, we've got to do something different. So she left me. And I'm on my 3rd wife trying to make it work now. You know, I don't work well with others. So I deal with humor only because it's a form of treatment that I've kind of accepted as a substitute for brains. I don't have the intelligence that is needed sometimes. And all of us that's ever seen combat we've got that gray area of trying to come back, transition back into civilian life, trying to fit back in, try to act normal. What the hell is normal? I want to know that. What is normal? You can't expect me to come home after getting wounded 8 times, laying there dead twice, killing 6 men, 3 of them with a knife, and expect me to be normal. I don't know what normal is, but I damn sure wasn't what somebody thought I ought to be. So I've lived the rest of my life. I retired off the fire department, local fire department. I stayed in the National Guard. Why? Because that was the safe haven. I could hide in the National Guard, continue to be with the troops, continue to grow in the military. But my wife, I tried to save the marriage, so I got out of the military. And I joined the police department first. I didn't like being a cop. Most Marines become cops. They recruited us. And I said, I could be a badass, I could be a Marine, I could be a cop, but I couldn't. I did not like the job. No one likes a cop in their life. Is there police officers in there? Well, I hope there was. But a police officer has a very difficult life. I had no friends when I was a cop. Even other cops were worried that I'd report them for something. It's a terrible job. Now you make friends through some other relationships. I couldn't. Here I am carrying a gun and a badge again. I just wasn't me. So the city that I work for, Kansas City, bought an ambulance and they gave me an opportunity to be a corpsman again. So I switched over to the fire department to be a paramedic. And I want to thank all the paramedics and the EMTs and the first responders in every town I go to, because I wore that same badge and same uniform in my hometown. And I loved it. I loved giving back. I loved being there. The best treatment, I guess the best thing I feel good about is trauma. I love trauma. Showing up on a car accident, showing up in a house burning, something that's where my adrenaline comes from. Who in the hell would run into a burning building? That ain't being smart either. The only reason I ever went in is if I knew somebody was in there. Because I don't give a shit about the wood, let the wood burn up, But if you got somebody that's endangered, and you could save their life, then it's worth risking your life for. Firemen don't get paid enough. I guarantee you. I never did anyway. And I made captain, so I made higher than the rest of the firemen. But it was never enough reward versus risk. So thank your fire department. And when you leave anywhere in the future, remember the firemen answer the 911 calls at 2 o'clock in the morning when they want to sleep. So that's my message to you is take care of the people that are taking care of you. I feel good. I help nonprofits now because I want to be there for other people. I want to help other people. My nonprofit right now handles, my new attitude is ham radio operators. Any ham radio guys in there? Look at there, we got at least a couple. I want to recruit you to help me because I have developed a program in a club, if you will, all ham radio operators that wants to help the suicide prevention. We still have 20, 22 a day across the board, veterans committing suicide. Why? They're disabled. They don't have a life. They have no quality of life. They have no sense of purpose. So I brought the ham radio into existence in my life to help that because they would come to me and get treatment for a couple hours and they go home and they relapse. Now they're back at their old poor me attitude. I have no reason to live. Well, this radio, as you guys can test, is a great hobby. It's a fun hobby. I turn it around and use it as a hobby to educate and to encourage the veterans that have no quality of life to get involved in. Why do they accept it? Well, because when you transmit to England or California or Kansas or Hawaii, I talked to the International Space Station. They don't see me. They don't know that I'm disabled. They don't know I'm in a wheelchair. They don't know that I'm screwed out. I can have a whole new life. And that's what I'm hoping that, I'm talking third party here. I'm trying to get them to realize they can develop a new lifestyle. And they can do it 24 hours a day. They don't have to wait till the VA clinic calls them and says, yeah, you got an appointment 3 months from now. That's what I'm all about. I'm going to ask you to support my nonprofit. 100% of the money goes to support, buy radio equipment, pay for the training, pay to get the exposure of the guys that are trying to teach and recruit help. So I'm not asking for a dime. I'm asking for your love, and I'm asking you to buy some of my merch that I got to pay for the radios and training. Now I'm going to answer questions and answer because I talk a lot, and I've already wasted my time. So now it's your time to learn and tell me, ask me questions because I don't want you to get hit with lightning. Yes, somebody. How many times do you get to talk to a living Medal of Honor recipient? You've got to have a question. 1 in every 5 million days, or 5 million people.
Any crayons on you?
I do, purple. I like grape.
Well, Don Johnson.
Hi, Don.
What unit were you in and what year, month, time frame in Vietnam?
Thank you. I was I went in Vietnam in October of 67. I was at the battalion headquarters, and then I was assigned to 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, and we were in the Northern I Corps. I was no farther south than Dong Ha, which is about 6 miles south of the DMZ. I operated in the Leatherneck Square, all Marines up there at the time, all the North Vietnam veterans, soldiers, the enemy, whatever you're gonna call them, they had to come through us to get, down to the Air Force and the Army. So they put us up there as first security force to protect the bases. We lived in the field. I never saw a base camp. I never did. The whole time I was only there, the Army's time of service was 12 months of tour. The Marines was 13 months. They got to be different. They got to be more. They got to be tough. So they made us stay 13 months, instead of everybody else got to go home. Every time I did not get an R&R the whole time I was there because I was the only corpsman. They wouldn't let me go even if I wanted to, because I was the only guy in the unit that could save a life if we had an injury. So 67, 68, and I came home in 68. Yes, sir.
Well, I've got 2 things to say. Number 1, my name is Angel, was probably the only angel you talked to today. There's my halo. And another thing, I think every man in here would love to shake your hand. I know I would.
Well, just worship first.
Yeah. There's one other thing. I'm your worst enemy. I was in the Air Police.
Now, I say that out of humor because the Air Force saved our ass in Vietnam. They would come over and drop napalm, they would drop their ordnance. I attended a B-52 reunion once and I said, how accurate are you with those bombs? And he says, we hit the target every time. I said, what kind of target? He said, the ground.
I used to have guard B-52s also.
Oh, nice. I love you. One, you're a service person that served our country. You love the country. I'm sorry you went to the Air Force. But Not really. My wife is Air Force, and she said I wasn't good looking enough to get in the Air Force.
Don, something occurred to me. You were in Vietnam in 67, 68. I was in Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in 67. We always had a minimum of 500 amputees in the hospital. I wonder if I took care of some of the amputees that you took care of in Vietnam. We'll never know that, but it's a possibility.
That's true. It would have been a Marine. It would have had to have been a Marine.
We had Marines, and we really had everybody.
Yeah. I could vote that I treated the Marines because the corpsmen are the first line of treatment. You know, we're right there embedded in the units. We're treating them as they get wounded, and we save their life. We stabilize them, save their life, put them on the helicopter, and they go back to the rear. Yeah. And if they can't help them there, then they send them back to the States. Yeah. Or they stabilize them back in the battalion aid stations, and then they send them to you, back to the States.
This guy he clamped off arteries and tied off arteries. Most corpsmen don't do that. Most corpsmen leave on a tourniquet, or they have pressure, get it back to the next aid station, and that occurs. He was doing that in that bunker. I mean, how tough is that?
I never saw a bunker. What the hell are you talking about?
That hole in the ground.
No, let me that crater. Now we got somebody who knows what they're talking about. These doctors back in work, My attitude, pressure dressings, if any of you have ever experienced it, don't work. I mean, you lose a lot of blood trying to control hemorrhage with a pressure point. So, and we never got supplies. We ran out of food. We ran out of ammo. We ran out of battle dressings. We couldn't get it. I had a year and 3 months working orthopedic surgery before I was directed in Marine Corps. So I had the experience that other corpsmen doesn't have. Because during surgery, you clamp off the arteries while you're working on doing the surgery. So I thought, well, if I could clamp off the artery there, I could clamp it off in Vietnam, So, because I had no battle dressings. And we all have Marine Corps belts. We could take it and make a tourniquet. But once you put that tourniquet on, you're going to lose that limb. It shuts off all the blood supply, and you're going to have a lost limb. And when I came back from Vietnam, I went back to orthopedic surgery. My job was to make the limb, the extremity, into a boot that would absorb the shock. You pull the skin back, you saw off the bones, you round them off, get rid of all the rough edges, and you pull the meat, you pull the muscle back around the fascia tissue, all the epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous, you pull all that and make a boot that will withstand pressure, whether it's a leg or arm or anything else. And then we would work on the central nervous system, finding your nerves, the trunks, and we would prepare them for artificial limbs, the sensory perception. I know you don't know what I'm talking about unless you've been there, but I used to have several guys that he probably worked on that had a complaint about toes aching or their foot killed them. And I said, that's kind of tough because you have no legs. So you have to understand the sensory perception of nerves to identify that body's telling you got a leg pain or an ankle pain when you don't really even have a leg. So that was a tremendous, then we'd go in and use ablation, we'd go in and do ablation and remove that nerve was the only treatment because it was being impinged. And it's probably because of the type of boot I made. I impinged or I put pressure against that nerve that needed to be relieved. And the only relief was to cut the nerve again and sever the nerve and sever the sensory perception between point A and point B. But I thank these guys and you owe the medical team, all levels of the medical team, your life and or quality of life. And I believe in military medicine because you're seen at the lowest level that you can be seen. If a corpsman or a medic can take care of you, don't bother the doctor. He's got more important things to do. So we treated medicine a lot more efficiently than the civilians did. And we moved them through. And one thing I loved about the military doctors over civilian doctors, they were there for the job. They weren't there because of the pay. They got the same pay whether it's on one patient or 100. So it was all about the love of the patient, being diligent about wanting to do the job to the best he can, but more importantly, he stayed all the hours that it took to meet the objective. And you don't see that in civilian law. Thank you, Doctor. How about another question? I'm getting some really good. Yes, sir. Stand up there, Army guy. Was that Army?
I'm an Army guy.
You an Army?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell. Just looking at you, I can tell.
This is just a comment for myself.
How about sticking that?
I
Get closer to your mouth.
I'm standing up and I want to salute you, and I want all the veterans to get up and salute you also for what you did. And I will salute you right now. Thank you very much.
That is the first time that's ever happened to me. I thank you for that. Because I was already standing. I take a lot of photographs, and I have to comment that I'm already standing when I get up there next to them. Yeah, I feel sorry for any doctor in here that didn't serve the military. Not everybody's qualified to serve in the military. Not all of them wanted to serve in the military. Can I see a hand, which I believe to be the most important person in here? Show me the people that did not serve. Show me your hands. Why is that important to me? The veterans know what the hell I'm going to say. They already feel my pain, our freedom. It's that we have to reach the other. We only make up 1% of the population. We need to double that by getting the non-veterans involved and understand what pain, suffering, the cost of freedom, and who in the hell paid it. Thank you for coming today, being a civilian that had the interest to want to learn. That's what's missing in America today, is that you're not taught anything except what they want you to hear. It's sad. I've got room for a couple more questions, and then I'll continue to talk if you don't ask the questions. Your mic, and then our mic.
Hi, I'm Mark Davis. I'm a civilian paramedic. He mentioned being a paramedic. Our modern EMS system is based on the knowledge and experience that the combat medics brought to this country after Vietnam. Before that, if you got an ambulance, it was a guy in a hearse who picked you up and ran you to the hospital and hoped you didn't die. It was their experience coming back that built our modern EMS system, and everybody owes all those medics a great debt. Thank you.
That is so true. I don't brag about that, and it's not a brag, it's an acknowledgement as well as exposure to. I was the third licensed paramedic in the state. It didn't exist, like you said. I hate to even talk about Vietnam, but I'd like to find something good that came out of it. Before we went to Vietnam, we were trained, but it was scoop and run. You know, scoop the guy off the street, run him to the hospital, and let him die there. You know, because we had no way of first aidman wasn't even a thing. we had no training. So Vietnam changed all that because in all the Second World War, Korea, they had ground ambulances. The Army moves as a unit. The Marines move as an individual cell. That's why we were embedded in with the unit because they had no support. I could not wait to get back to where it was normal, okay? But in Vietnam, being in a Marine unit, we had no ground transportation, none. The Army had some down south, but we never had anything in the mountains. We had to wait for the helicopters to come and get us, come and get our patients. We had a lot of Air Force guys come up. The thing is that changed the whole perspective of paramedic training. We had to develop the golden hour. We had to develop stabilization prior to transportation. We had to keep them alive if we wanted to live, you know? So we didn't just scoop and run. Our battlefield became an emergency room. That's where we practiced, and we had guys die because we knew nothing. You know, there was nobody to teach us. So emergency medicine became a thing. That's how I worked with, there was 4 Navy corpsmen that started the PA's program because we had it in the military. Physician assistant was a thing, but it was only in the military. We brought it to civilian life as nurse practitioners. It was a thing in the military. Didn't exist in civilian life. You are benefiting today because of Vietnam. I hate to say it the way I did, because nobody wants to remember Vietnam. If you remember, we got treated pretty badly when we came home. You know, we had cups of urine thrown on me. Everybody's got a story. The only thing I can talk about is the urine that was thrown on me. Wearing a white Navy uniform is kind of a pissy deal when you got a dog. I hope it was dog piss instead of urine. And dog feces. I had a turtle, on my back and on my side, on my shoulder. I was hoping it was a dog turd, because I might have killed the son of a bitch. So I'll be right with you. We go through our life with symbolisms and memories and understandings and learning to understand and cope. And I've had women come up to me, mostly women, because they were a lot of protesters in the 60s. And I learned one thing that I will share with you. But she came up and said, I am so sorry that I was a protester. I didn't understand. I listened to the news media. And so, and that's what I'm afraid of today with our kids. And even us as older kids, we're listening to what they want us to hear. And we're fed this bullshit. Life isn't what they're telling us it's about. You can tell that from the food pyramid. Now Big Pharma wants us to spend more money. I mean, they want you on drugs. They don't make any money unless you're buying drugs. So, I'm an advocate, and I hardly ever get invited back more than once. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Barb Whitty, and my husband was in the Army Chemical Corps. He graduated from IU and has got his draft notice and his diploma on the same day and went to Vietnam. He taught people how to use Agent Orange. And he would be triggered when we went to Las Vegas and there'd be a fleet of helicopters come over. He'd grab me and shove me next to a building and stand in front of me. I never really understood PSCD. I said, what do you need me to do? How do you need me to act? And where should I go? And it was difficult because he shared his story of coming home and getting spit on. I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Well, this country is motivated by the almighty dollar, and the ones that got most of it is screwing the rest of us. They want to make the money, they want to continue to make the money, and it doesn't matter who's paying the price for them to make the money. Agent Orange turned out to be one of the worst things that we experienced in Vietnam. All of us are suffering from some kind of cause and effect of it. Mostly cancer, mostly blood diseases. There's a lot of stuff that went on with, and it flew over us to kill all the vegetation. If you don't know what Agent Orange was, and the foliage, it was a defoliage chemical. Well, it killed bugs, and that's what we thought was great about it. We rubbed it all over ourselves. It killed the bugs, the mosquitoes, and leave us alone. They were smarter than we were, you know? So Agent Orange was the thing that we accepted because our government knew best. Our government wouldn't do that to us, would it? Yes, they did. Somebody made a lot of money. And now this is not a political statement. I know it to be a fact. I had a Marine that retired out of the Marine, got out of the Marines right there, went to work at a civilian contract job, and I didn't know they even existed. But he worked for a company called Halliburton. He also worked, you know who the biggest owner of Halliburton was and the biggest money? It was Johnson. Lady Bird Johnson owned all of the die-blocker bunkers in the country. They owned the Connex boxes that shipped the containers back and forth. They owned the containers. They owned all the radio transmission towers and equipment that the military needed. They made money on our 58,000 dead. I don't want to end on a negative thought, so can we come back with something good, like screw 'em?
Okay, silly question.
Gotta have that mic.
Okay.
We like silly questions.
Yeah, well, lighter note.
Please.
Weapons excluded,
Yeah.
what was the most useful piece of equipment you had?
Okay, now, that's a great question. They sent me, the Marines were very intelligent. They sent my ass in combat with no weapon. That's why I love them so much.
We had a 45.
Well, with no bullets and no magazine. I asked the sergeant, what am I supposed to do? Hit him on the head with this damn thing? Doc, he said, Doc, if you want a weapon, wait after the first firefight, you'll have your choices. And he was right. We picked them up off our own dead. I carried an AK-47 for several months, which is a Chinese-made weapon given to the Vietnamese to kill us. AK-47. And it was really heavier than the M14, if that's what we started with, M14. And the M16 came out, very lightweight, it sprayed, and you didn't have to hit anything, you just sprayed at them. There was no single shot, it was semi-automatic, and you just sprayed the area. So, the question was, I would think, what gave me the best reward was the hemostats, Kelly forceps, was being able to clamp off the arteries and recover them, because I couldn't let them stay in the body. I had to tie off shoelaces, every time I go to the rear, I'd get all the suture material I could. I'd tie off the artery. They get on the helicopter, medevac back, big gaping wound with no bleeding. And that was my pride and joy, was developing a technique that they're teaching now.
98% of people who die in combat die of exsanguination, loss of blood. So that's what he was trying.
Correct. This is the doctor speaking, the one that was in the rear with the gear. He never got shot at, goddammit.
That is true.
Well, he's proven since then to be a good guy, come on. And we obviously did the best we could with what we had to work with and the training that we had. I saved 59 lives was what I was credited with. They were all Marines, unfortunately, but I was not the one keeping track of that. Okay, I was not one keeping track of that. It was the clearing station that would get a wound back there that was non-bleeding because I clamped them off. That's how they knew that and I'd seen several of them before that, but they kept track of the ones that came back with my technique of combined surgical and trauma. Looks like somebody's going to put the hook on me and pull me off stage. Is there any other question? I am here for you. You know, other than asking for all your money for my nonprofit, I don't want anything from you. You may. I love angels. An angel in my life.
I have a grandson that's in the Army. He's about third generation in the military.
Hoorah!
Hoorah!
That's American patriotism. I treat myself with humor. Yes, ma'am. You're awful pretty.
Thank you for being here so much, Don. And you want to set up your items, I think there'll be a table or something to drop your items.
Yes.
Or bring something on out and people want to look at your books, that would be great. Okay?
I love it.
All right.
100% of any dollar you give me will go to help the veterans. I mean, I have two missions. One was the radio to help suicide. The second nonprofit buries them if I fail. If anybody fails that needs, they do not qualify for benefits, then I do free funerals. I went back at the age of 60 to become a licensed practitioner. I'm a funeral director for 2 states. So when I was shaking hands over there, I was checking for a pulse. Help me out, people, help me out.